Right, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another reaction. Today we've got a video from RealLifeLore. We got an airplane ran out of fuel at 41,000 feet. Here's what happened next. Don't know why I'm watching this. It's gonna scare the fucking shit out of me. You know what? We're not going on an airplane anytime soon. So yeah, let's just check this one out, man.
Every single day, over 100,000 flights take place up in the skies between cities all across the world. Right now, as you're watching this video, there's probably about 5,000 or so planes full of people
that's
flying
a lot.
over just
That's
the
actually
United
crazy.
States alone. Flying by airplane is by far the safest possible way for you to travel anywhere today in the 21st century.
Here we go. He's just he's getting that out there right now before he tells you what happens to this fucking plane that
accidents do still
runs out of
happen
fuel.
sometimes. If you're driving your car on the way to work and you run out of gas, you may just have to pull over and push it or hitchhike over to the nearest gas station.
Yeah, in a plane, you're
when
fucked.
you run out of gas on your plane while you're in the middle of flying it, your options are all pretty much equally shit.
First of all, how are they running out of gas, out of fuel, mid-flight? What's going on here, bro?
And that's exactly the situation that the crew of Air Canada Flight 143 faced back on July 23rd, 1983. The day before, their plane was flown from Toronto to Edmonton and received its routine maintenance checks. On the morning of the 23rd, the plane was flown from Edmonton over to Montreal, where the old crew got swapped out for our new crew that takes part in this story, including Captain Robert Pearson with over 15,000 hours of flight experience and First Officer Maurice Quintal with over 7,000 hours. It's important to note that at the time, Canada was in the middle of converting from barbarian imperial units over to the glorious metric system for their aviation industry. But Air Canada had so far only began using the metric system on their brand new 767
What does that mean?
Which of course, Air Canada Flight 143 was one of. Every other plane besides the 767s in the Air Canada fleet were still using Imperial units, and this caused a bit of confusion on the part of the refueling team, who were instructed to load up the plane with 22,300 kilograms of fuel. Unfortunately, they filled up the plane with 22,300 pounds of fuel instead, which was only about half of the fuel that they needed to reach Edmonton. The flight crew approved of the fuel without noticing the error, took off, and didn't even think about it until they were 41,000 feet high up in the air, and an alarm went off signaling that their left engine had quit.
Listen, right? You know, in a car, you know you're running out of fuel. So you know when you start, all planes do this. You start up and you go on the runway, you go very slowly, right? Do you not, is there no oh, you're half a tank fuel? Do you not see that? What's going on there?
They were only about halfway through their trip to Edmonton, and with only one engine working, they decided to divert to nearby Winnipeg for an emergency landing. Unfortunately for them though, quickly after the left engine went out, the right engine followed suit and died as well. This was of course because their plane had run out of fuel 41,000 feet high up in the sky. And with the loss of power to the engines came a loss in electricity for the entire plane, which shut off most of the instrument panels inside of the pilot's cockpit. Captain Pearson and First Officer Quintal were now responsible for somehow getting all 61 of their passengers and crew on board to safety without any fuel and with only very basic instruments. And they knew that they didn't have much time. The first thing they did was to frantically search through their onboard emergency checklist for the section about flying a plane with both engines out. But they quickly discovered that...
What do you mean checking the list, bro? You're fucking pilots with a lot of flight time. You get trained every 6 months, I think. You get retrained or whatever it is. Re-examined. You don't know what to do in this situation? When my plane runs out...
That section just didn't exist. This situation had never been covered before in their flight simulator training, and Air Canada Corporate had just assumed that an incident like this would never happen. So nobody was really prepared for it. Luckily for everybody on board, Captain Pearson also just happened to be an experienced glider pilot, and decided to do the only logical thing. Glide the plane down to a super serious emergency landing somewhere. Unfortunately for everybody on board, neither of the pilots had access to a vertical speed indicator, which indicates the rate at which the aircraft is descending. This meant that the pilots didn't know with certainty how long they could continue gliding for before the plane inevitably smashed into the ground. Captain Pearson made his best guess as to what the optimal gliding speed for the plane was, around 250 miles per hour, and First Officer Quintal began frantically calculating if they could still reach their intended emergency landing spot at Winnipeg. Winnipeg, using the mechanical backup instruments on board to figure out their altitude and measuring that against the distance traveled that they were traveling provided by air traffic control, and he figured out that they had dropped 5,000 feet in altitude in only 10.
Bro, if they survive this, right, they need medals.
10 nautical miles of gliding, which meant that Winnipeg was too far away. Thinking quickly, Quintal suggested that they land at an old decommissioned Royal Canadian Air Force base at Gimli where he used to serve as a pilot. Captain Pearson and air traffic control all agreed on the plan, but unknown to all of them, the former Air Force base had since been converted into a racetrack, and at the time of their crisis, a race was in the middle of being hosted there.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Part of the decommissioned runway was being used as a drag strip. As they were getting close to the old runway that's now a drag strip, they used a gravity drop to force the landing gear down without using any power. It became—
Wait. And someone informed the people that's racing in the cars, bro. And someone informed them that a fucking plane is gonna land on the racetrack.
It became apparent that they were coming in too high and too fast. But they decided that they had no other choice and they surged ahead anyway. There were a few things that made their landing extremely difficult though. First, without any engines working, their plane was making almost no noise, and so people on the ground at the racetrack had no warning of their sudden landing. Second, their nose wheel had failed to lock into place during the gravity drop.
Oh,
and
no.
Third, the plane had automatically deployed a wind turbine on the side of the plane to provide power for the hydraulic steering system since the main engines were dead. As long as wind was blowing and causing the turbine blades to spin, they had good ability to steer. But as they slowed down on their approach, the blades on the turbine span slower, which generated less power, which caused the plane to be increasingly more difficult to steer and control the slower that they went. But two almost miraculous other things happened that saved them from disaster. First was—
Wait. They survived this shit? I hope the pilots, both of them, got a fucking medal.
The nose wheel actually failing to lock into position. As soon as the wheels of the plane touched down on the runway, Captain Pearson braked really hard and the nose wheel collapsed and was forced back up into its well. That caused the nose of the aircraft to smash into the ground, bounce back up, and then finally scrape across the ground. The added friction of this helped to slow the airplane down even more and kept it from veering off into the crowd surrounding the plane on either side. Pearson also applied an extra right brake, which caused the main landing gear to straddle a guard.
Bro, imagine, right? You're watching your fucking car races, right? Whatever was going on. You're watching that, and you're like, hey, Jeff, I think that's a plane. Jeff, that's a... Jeff, the plane's coming in for the finish line. What the fuck is going on, Jeff? Boom! Plane! Bro, what the fuck? You're there watching like car racing and the plane just comes in on the
guardrail that had been placed in the center of the runway, which created even more extra drag. Finally, Air Canada Flight 143 safely came to a complete stop on the ground 17 minutes after they first lost their fuel and had their engines shut down. Nobody on board the plane or on the ground was seriously injured, and following an internal investigation by Air Canada, Captain Pearson was demoted for 6 months and First Officer Quintal was suspended for 2 weeks for allowing the whole thing to happen in the first place.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, right, listen. They first of all, how did they fly a plane with half missing fuel, right? I'm there screaming medal them, right? Maybe demote them and give them a medal as well. Because what the fuck they just did, holy shit. They were stupid at the start, but damn. Like, actually crazy. What the fuck?
However, they did successfully appeal their suspensions, and they were awarded the first ever diploma for outstanding airmanship by the FAI because of the incident. They both continued to work as pilots for the rest of their careers without another major incident taking place.
Nice.
And the 767 plane itself continued in service for Air Canada until it was finally retired in 2008, almost 25 years later. The lesson from the whole story is that bad math can kill you, but good math afterwards can still save you. Basically, if everybody just knew how to use conversions and math properly beforehand, this entire thing would never have happened in the first place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, the internet and brilliant—
Yeah, that was a crazy story, I'm not gonna lie. Really good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I definitely did. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.